Yeah, yeah. I can still project. I think we're going to start. If you would take your seats, please.
I love being mic'd. Don't you want to walk around being mic'd all day, like in your life? Everything is so important. All right. Let's talk about Face Off. So Face Off is one of my favorite shows. It is a breakout reality competition show that involves makeup effects artists. We're in the middle of shooting season 2, so we don't have any footage to show you actually, but we have something better, which is we brought with us as it's kind of ruined my my intro. We brought Bea and Mackenzie here to talk about it. The Face Off premieres. The season 2 premiere is January 11th at 10 p.m. I don't know that that's news, but I'm going to play my little. I'm going to play my horn anyway. Oh wait, shoot. Okay, I didn't like during the break. I kind of screwed myself. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me play my horn.
FBI, don't move! Drop the gun now!
Anyway, so that's the news. Please welcome multiple Academy Award winner and one of our judges, V. Neal, and our host, Mackenzie Westmore.
Hi. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Come on in, have a seat.
Mark?
Good to see you.
See you. Hi.
Oh, hello. Mark
Hi,
Stern.
I know.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm great. So first of all, thank you guys for being down here. I know you're in the midst of shooting. So tell us, I think, first of all, well, actually, before we get into the new season, I got to talk about, you watch a lot of these competition reality shows, and the winner wins money or he wins in other things. But in the case of some of these, you always wonder what happens after. And I really I wanted you to talk a little bit about what happened to the winner of season 1, because obviously it was very much involved with you being.
Right, yeah. It worked out really well. Connor McCullough, who was our winner last year, it just so happens that he is a resident of North Carolina. And I just finished shooting the film The Hunger Games, which is a very, exciting project for all of us, because it's probably going to be the new set of films that's going to take over from the Harry Potter and, the Twilight series. It's a really exciting young adult book series. So I just happened to run into Connor at Monsterpalooza, and I said, I just found out you lived in North Carolina. Would you like to come be my third on Hunger Games? So needless to say, he was really excited about that. So that was kind of cool. And just prior to that, I was shooting the film The Amazing Spider-Man. And while I was in New York, I hired 2 more of our contestants, Tate and Anthony. And they came and worked with me on Spider-Man while I was in New York. So it was really neat to be able to hire these, gentlemen, post-show. And it was very exciting for our show as well, I think. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
It was
that
neat.
They had that exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect in the new season.
Oh my goodness. Season 2,
pretty exciting.
The challenges are just, the ante has been upped so incredibly. The foundation challenges, the spotlight challenges, a lot more women this year, which I found very interesting, which with our first challenge, we break them off into 2 teams, the men versus the women.
Yes, and we actually have equal amounts of women this year. Like last year, we only had a few women. This year, we started off with 12? Is it 12 contestants?
14.
14. So we have 7 women and 7 men. And yes, our first challenge was the men against the women, which was kind of cool.
It is neat, especially in this industry, as you know. It's a more predominantly male industry, so to see the women kind of breaking through the industry is nice to see. So we started off with, it was a Wizard of Oz theme. And it was reinventing the wonderful Wizard of Oz, the original book, and they had to reinvent the 3 main characters. So it was fascinating to see the choices that they made as far as doing whatever they wanted with the Tin Woodsman, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. And then we moved into our next challenge was then...
Well, the important thing to mention about that was that we really didn't want them to do anything that was in the movie because we were actually going off only the book. So they really, and it was a themed challenge. So the women...
Which they got to choose.
Yeah, which they got to choose. And I think the women picked
went
the
post-apocalyptic.
post-apocalyptic Wizard of Oz, which was really interesting. And,
Which, you know, a little cliche, if you ask me. Seen that so many times.
well, the
How many
girls
times are you
rocked
going to
on
see a
that one.
post-apocalyptic Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, the girls really rocked that one. They did a great job. And the guys did kind of like a horror... Dark horror type
Scary.
thing, yeah. So that was
Scary
interesting,
Wizard
too.
Not a lot of songs and, yeah.
Kind of hard to sing those tunes.
Right.
So then we went into, next was the aquatic creatures. I took them down to the Long Beach Aquarium, and they got to travel through the aquarium and take a look at all the different animals and create a human aquatic creature. And the fun thing about that, and they always love when they hear my heels clicking because they know that there's some twist coming. They're starting to not like me now. So I told them last minute, not last minute, but I told them that on top of having to create this creature, it now has to be waterproof. And they then had to figure out how to make their entire makeups head to toe waterproof so that their models could be submerged in a tank for 5 minutes.
And they also have bits and pieces of, you know, fabric or clothing on them as well, because obviously they're not going to be nude. And then they were completely submerged in a giant tank that we had right on stage.
Yes.
And they had to be able to stay in the water for 5 minutes, each one of their creations. So that was kind of really cool and interesting.
That was interesting, yeah. To see it beforehand, to see it in the water, and then for the judges to see it after, to see how the makeup's held up.
Exactly.
That happens. That happens on set. After that, then, we had our infamous nude body painting challenge, which was also increased this year because the models were doubled. Each contestant, or in teams of 2, had to do 2 models. They had to choose a background, and one had to blend, one had to be a character. So that was also really interesting. Had a little drama that day as well, which people will find out.
Yes, actually, very interesting, like what happened that day.
Yes.
Which we're not going to talk about.
No, we're not going to.
I don't.
You'll have to wait and see.
No, I'm.
No, you don't know. I was the only one there.
Oh,
I'll tell you
Yes,
later.
the judges are
Something I
kept.
know.
No,
See,
the
I don't
judges
know
are
what's
kept
going on
quiet.
half
They're
the time.
they're kept
We,
hidden to
as a
everything.
judge, we only really get to see what comes on the stage. So if it's not shown to us while we're on stage, or if we get to do a walkthrough, which I've already done, I've done 2 walkthroughs already.
Yes.
I'm getting to do more walkthroughs this year, which is kind of cool. And yeah, and so far, these few challenges that we've done have all been in teams.
Yes.
So our next challenge...
The next one after that was I took them to Linda Vista Community Hospital in downtown Los Angeles.
Which is a really creepy, scary, closed-down
very
place.
haunted landmark of hospitals in America. And they had the challenge of taking a phobia and incorporating it into their own thought of a horror villain. So they were then individually locked into rooms, put into rooms for 30 minutes to inspire them. Locked up, all right. Inspire them to create their horror villain. So it was a really interesting, fun challenge. And then they got to see them as individuals and the talents that would start to emerge, broken away from team challenges.
Yeah, this was really where we got to see, you know, up until then, we really couldn't tell who was, you know, I mean, we get to ask questions. Who does what, you know, who did this, who sculpted, who molded, you know, who did most of the application. But up until this challenge, we never really got to see what they could do individually. So this was really kind of a breakthrough challenge for us as judges to really be able to see their accomplishments.
That's very true. Then we had Dangerous Beauty, which...
Do we have any more challenges in between there?
Well, we had foundation challenges. Each time we have foundation
It's okay.
challenges.
We don't need to do the catalog. Some of it you want them to watch.
Yeah, but I like to
I don't want to get because the foundation challenges were really the foundation challenges were extremely fascinating. I found this year with a lot of our guest judges. Those were, to me, just as fun this year as the spotlight, and just as daunting for the contestants to try and get through that 2 hours, as opposed to their full-on, you know, a day or two.
And we have lots of really great guest judges this year, and so it's really going to be fun. Some from our SYFY family, actually, even.
Indeed, there are.
Yes, there are.
Which is kind of cool.
Talk a little bit about. I think what's really always fun, and you mentioned how many more women makeup artists we were able to get. There's no question that season 2 and being part of the casting process on the other side, I felt like we got not only more applicants, but a higher caliber of talent. Did you find that to be true?
I think so. I think we have really a lot of people this year that have a lot more experience and perhaps a little bit, I don't want to say more talented, because we really can't tell yet, funny enough. I mean,
well, even some, though, that aren't quite so talented, because without naming names, there are a few that really aren't even so familiar with what was even in their box to begin with.
yeah.
So it's really interesting to see across the board. It's a pretty level playing field, I'd say.
Yeah,
this year.
and even a couple of the contestants that weren't really familiar with the products that they were going to be using are using them in a really inventive way, and they're actually doing some techniques that I haven't even seen in a really long time. Like construction type techniques, which
I remember you even saying, you're like, I'm going to have to remember that one.
Yeah, I mean, this one kid did this thing that I couldn't believe it. I said, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it's like, even Glenn didn't even realize. He says, how did that kid know how to do that? That's so cool. He said, we use that all the time. It's like something that was a very, little known technique, and it works so great and it's so simple.
Yes.
So has that stepped up your game in terms of the challenges or how you're judging or what you're making them do?
Well, we don't really have any control over the challenges per se, and they said, well, do you want to know what you're doing this year? And I said, no. I want to be surprised when we go in for the challenges. I want it to be, a surprise to me when I go to see it and to judge it. And I don't want to have to think about it ahead of time because I don't want to have any preconceived ideas,
Yeah.
So I don't know what the challenge is till the day we get there.
Okay.
And I kind of like to leave it that way. I said to the other guys, do you want to know? And they go, well, maybe. And I said, no, you don't want to know.
See, like me, I don't want to be surprised. I want to know everything. I want to go in knowing everything.
Well, you have to know everything because you're there every day. We just kind of come and go.
Ahead of time, I want to know. Way ahead of time.
Is it harder? Has it been harder this year to be the host of it? Because obviously everything has been stepped up more, and now we're going to more places and we're doing more things. Has that been more of a challenge?
It's interesting because it's harder in some ways, but easier in others. Because coming from a theatrical background and having hosted last year, it was like, wow, okay, this is a little bit of a learning curve for me. Knowing the makeup world, knowing how to run a lab with my dad, and knowing all that side of it made it easy for me to speak as a host in this realm. But the hosting genre itself is a whole other beast. This year coming into it, it's so much easier because now I know what I'm doing. Now I know how to host. Now I know I have, I've gotten in a groove of the challenges and the foundation challenges and the spotlight challenges and how to deliver them and what they need to know, the specific information that each contestant needs to know. The only thing I would say that's and it's not even difficult. I don't want to call it difficult, but it's been different going to all these different locations. 2 a.m. at Linda Vista Community Hospital, which is one of the most haunted hospitals in America. We woke the contestants up at 1 a.m., got them there by 2 to deliver the challenge to them. And of course, I'm there, wanting to explore around and, where's my flashlight so I can go ghost hunting? And I'm like, oh, no, we're not doing ghost hunters. Hold the show. We're doing face-off. Sorry, I forgot. So it was so much fun, though. So that would be the only major difference for me is getting to travel all over. Getting to see all these fun places. And two, for me, I love seeing the contestants' faces light up as soon as they walk in. And whether we're in a location, they're looking around like, oh my goodness, where are we? What's happening? And then when they find out that the challenge and how extremely difficult it is, God bless you, by the way, when they find out how challenging it is, they're just like, I can see either their faces light up or their faces drop in complete and utter fear. So it's fascinating to watch them and see, okay, who's freaking out this week?
Great.
That's always fun.
That's great. All right, well, let's open it up to your questions.
Hi, thank you. There's a lot of appreciation for makeup now, especially with Greg Nicotero taking over as co-exec producer of Walking Dead, or guys like Tom Savini getting their due at conventions and things like that. So I'm kind of curious about people that are, your colleagues or people that have inspired you. What are they saying about the show? Do they like it? And also, what ideas are they coming to you with for challenges?
Are you speaking to me personally?
Both of you.
Yep. Nobody has actually come to me with challenges, because I've made it very clear to them that we are not involved in that, and I think it probably might be a conflict of interest. I'm not sure, but for me, I think it's better to let, they have like a really great team figuring out the challenges, and for me, every time I hear a new challenge, I'm totally mind-boggled. It's like, oh my God, how did they figure that out? It's like, oh, I never would have thought of that. So I think they're really doing a great job of initiating the challenges and all of that. And all of my colleagues, as far as what they're saying about the show, they think it's really fabulous.
They love it.
And they're really excited about it. I mean, every time I talk to a makeup artist, they're going, oh my God, it's so cool that they're finally showing everybody how this works. And my only fear is that the producers are going to think now that we can do everything in 15 hours. They have to remember that stuff falls apart the minute those guys are off camera.
It is true. It's really nice to hear from the industry, from an insider's point of view, the appreciation and the love that true industry people have across the board of all levels really do enjoy the show, because it does show, you know, a true look of behind the scenes and what goes on.
I'm going to preface this by saying this may be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How important is funding for proper makeup? I mean, or how important is money to creating like real proper makeup? And then my second question is, how has digital technology affected how you approach doing makeup?
Well, those are really two different, completely separate questions. First of all, you know, depending on what the makeup is, yes, some makeups are much more expensive to create than others. You know, depends on how elaborate it is, what technology you're using, what type of product you're using. So it just depends on what is required, how long it has to be, the longevity of it, how many times it has to be applied. All of these things are taken in consideration when you're budgeting for a prosthetic makeup. I hope that pretty much answers your question without going into anything of detail.
Unless you're looking for like Halloween ideas.
Yeah.
That's a whole other ballpark.
As far as the digital technology, I believe that we can really work together in a very symbiotic way, because when I was doing the pirate films, I worked very closely with the guys who were doing all of our digital technology, and they actually took pictures of our makeup bootstrap bill which we did, and they applied that to the actual digital characters that they were building so that they looked like our makeup. And I think as long as we have our digital technology working with us, you know, in conjunction with us, I think we can really find really clever ways of making this work.
There's a need for both.
Yeah, I think so. I think everything has its place. I don't think it's ever going to really replace an organic makeup, which I feel is really important, because, and also for the actors, it's very difficult for actors not to be able to have
that tangible feeling.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is like, as I was speaking about Bootstrap Bill, he went through 6 or 7 stages of makeup, and he was only really supposed to be in the makeup for 2 stages, and then the digital technology was going to take over, and he liked being in the makeup so much that we continued on with the makeup as opposed to turning him into a digital character. So it really is helpful for the actors as well to have that organic matter on them, you know, for their character.
It's very true. Which I'm actually getting to experience for the first time now, because I just had my first life cast done.
Oh, right,
ever.
Yeah.
Which is odd. Everybody says, well, you're a Westmore. You should have had it done when you were 1. What's wrong with you? So I actually got to experience for the first time, as we're going to change some of our campaigns, being the face of Face Off. So I got to have my first cast done and experience that and what it's like to do all this covered in goop and rubber and everything.
Are you claustrophobic?
I am, yes.
Oh, wow.
I am. So that was really fun.
So what was that like? Was there a lot of like visualization of like calm summer nights?
Oh my, I so went to my happy place. I was humming in my head, it's okay, it's okay. And I got through it. I think there was a split second where
Did
Greg
anybody
Canham...
hold your hand or anything?
No, nobody held my hand. No,
Those
I was like
boys.
this the whole time. I didn't even realize.
They missed their window of opportunity. What a bunch of dummies.
Yeah, right.
You're so cute. That's so funny.
Other questions?
Hi. Well, you have had a lot of experience being on the makeup chair when you were on Passions. How is it different when you were doing it this time? Is it more intense for you, or...?
As far as
Being in the, when you just said you were doing the body cast and everything.
right, this was definitely more intense. I mean, I've had prosthetic pieces put on before, but very minimally. I mean, on Passions, my goodness, I did a lot of past life things, but they were more about the beauty makeups, whether it was Cleopatra, whether it was being on the Titanic. There was one time where I did play a man, so there were more prosthetic pieces that went into that. Then when I was on Star Trek, the extent I had of that, other than being Starfleet, was being a Vulcan. So the ears weren't too bad. This was definitely a completely different realm for me, to have all of this done and to see the cast now afterwards, and to know what's coming up as far as having the application of these specific makeups, which I'm not going to tell you why. Knowing what's coming up is going to be really exciting. I'm so excited to have all this done. Everything from contact lenses to prosthetic pieces to teeth to everything being done.
Wow. You're telling them everything.
No, but they don't know what it is.
No, exactly.
I'm just saying what's coming up.
And one more, if I'm allowed. You did hosting and acting. What's next for you as far as your celebrity bucket list?
Well, I'm loving doing Face Off right now. We've got a lot of stuff coming up on the pipeline. I'm working on some product lines. I'm working on a couple of different projects on the production side as well. So I'm definitely always looking back into the theatrical world. I never want to step away from that, but I'm absolutely loving hosting right now. So I'm happy where I'm at.
Are you going to cast her in a movie now? Take her away from us?
We could work something out.
I am Canadian as well.
I think we have
one
time
last
for one more question.
When you have a plate full of things like Pirates, The Hunger Games, The Amazing Spider-Man, what's the appeal of going from something, as my voice breaks, the appeal of going from all those kinds of big projects to then serving as a judge on Face Off? I'm just curious what the appeal is.
It's fun. I mean, I love my job and I love being on the movies, but this is like a completely different thing. I mean, it's so much fun not to have the pressure of actually doing the makeup, but sitting back and watching somebody else get to do it.
That's true.
And, it's kind of great. It's almost kind of like a mentoring thing. I mean, I know sometimes the way I'm edited, I'm kind of like the Simon Cowell of the show, even though Glenn's the one scowling. And I actually, eventually talked to them a little bit, and as I said, I've hired several of the makeup artists, so it's actually quite fun. I really enjoy it.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank
They'll
you.
be
Thank
down
you.
here
Thank you, everybody.
for the next 10 minutes or so to chat with you.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.